video will be about another aspect of the Bloodliners: mystery schools, mysticism, paganism, pantheism, witchcraft, and magic, which can be seen in their religion, literature, and folklore. And that aspect is weather manipulation or weather rituals. And I'm doing this one in honor of COP28 coming up. I think it starts tomorrow in Dubai. And it's these same people that I've been talking about who are obsessed with weather modification as part of their religion. They're the ones spouting climate change rhetoric that's being established by what others call as the globalists, and I'm going to just refer to them as witches. So examples are chemtrails, blocking out the sun, attempting to control human activities to support climate control. But why is this being pushed? Who's doing it, and how did this originate? Since it's the same people that we've been talking about, it's the Bloodliners, they're mystics, magicians, sorcerers, knights, and the secret societies who have weather control as part of their religion. I want to look at their religion. So let's look at King Charles for one. He's the climate change king, isn't he? Trying to put everyone on climate change probation with COP28 coming up. He is Order of the Garter, which is a witch coven. He wants to be Prince of Transylvania, and I'm going to talk more about this Solomonari related to Transylvania in a little bit. And it makes sense that they would call it a round table climate talk, right? Very Arthurian legend. We have Bill Gates, who talks about blocking out the sun to fight global warming, and he's a Knight of the Crown. And then you have this knight who's Secretary General of the UN in charge of climate change as a mitigator. See my video titled Antonio, Godfather of Climate Change and Mitigation. So this is Antonio Guterres. He's a Knight of the Crown, and he's a former Knights Templar. And those are just a few current examples. But let's look at why. Let's look at the history and their religion. Because these people love to try to control things using magic, especially the weather. It's part of their nature worship and fertility cult. And it's all over their religion. This nature worship and weather manipulation. That theme it runs through everything. So I'm just going to go over a few instances of this that I've seen historically and the literature I've been reading. And this theme goes way far back into their religion. So we all know about the Greek and Roman god kings of the pantheon who were supposed to control the weather, so I'm not going to go over those. But I do want to go over the Solomonari again. Those wizards that are said to control the weather and ride dragons. It says the Solomonari were regarded as dragon riders who control the weather, causing thunder or rain or hail to fall. And this is a Romanian legend originating in Transylvania, which I've talked about before as being the site of the most ancient Aryan root races, as evidenced by the Tartaria tablets and other archaeological evidence found there. And I'm reading that these Solomonari are related to vampires or strigoi or upiers, and also to master masons. And says the Solomonari are tall, red-haired wizards trained in a Shalomance school to control the weather and ride a dragon, wearing long white robes of peasants, which serve to summon the female spirits. The Shalomance school is featured in World of Warcraft and in Harry Potter. Harry Potter, which was authored by a Knight of the Crown, J.K. Rowling was knighted. It was in the theme of the Game of Thrones. Daenerys got her power and great authority from the dragons, and she was one of the only ones who could ride the dragon. And that was authored by somebody they called as the American Tolkien. George R.R. Martin, they called him. And in real life, that school is said to be here underground in the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania. And there's all kinds of dragon riding being promoted right now. It's in the Alfa Romeo commercial saying, driving one of their cars is like riding a dragon. And then you've got How to Train Your Dragon kids movies. And the beliefs was that the students were taught at the Devil's School, which was situated underground, and that these students avoided the rays of the sun for a 7-year duration of their study, and they were in fact a type of strigoi or vampire, according to this folklorist, Marion. See my playlist titled Bloodliners Depicted as Vampires in Movies. This was also written into Bram Stoker's Dracula, because Dracula himself was supposed to be a Solomonar. And I'm just going to read a few quotes from historians in this article that I found. This is an 1800s folklore historian that wrote, "As I am on the subject of thunderstorms, I may as well here mention the Shalomants, or school supposed to exist somewhere in the heart of the mountains, and where all the secrets of nature, the language of animals, and all imaginable magic spells and charms are taught by the devil in person." Another historian writes, "Notice that now the school is under the earth, which forms one part of the solution of the puzzle of the Shalomanians. There are two other parts that complete the picture. To understand this, however, it is important to remember that before Transylvania was a Christian territory, it was part of the pre-Christian Roman province of Dacia, which before the Roman conquest was culturally affiliated with Thrace. In both regions, priests of the pagan gods retreated to the woods and secret places to learn the secrets of the gods." And what he's talking about is the Wood Lords at Lake Nemi, written about in the Golden Bough. Says the entomology is related to King Solomon, and there are a few hypotheses of who those wizards are, one being the Red Jews or the Khazars, because of the red hair. It says here, fearing their wrath, people usually ask a master stonemason for advice. The master stonemason is a former Solomonar himself, who dropped the craft in favor of being again amongst people. His knowledge is highly prized because he knows the secrets of Solomonars. So master masons or stonemasons, Freemasons, know the secrets of Solomonars. It also says they're associated with the other realm or the spirit world and necromancy, and those are other common themes with these people. So another book that I reviewed, The Golden Bough, goes into a lot of detail about the magical witchcraft practice of weather manipulation used throughout many cultures and tribes, and the nature worship of these people, including the Wood Lords at Lake Nemi. I'm also reading a book titled From Ritual to Romance, written in 1920 by Jessie Weston, and she was a British scholar who wrote about medieval Arthurian legends and connecting them with the Aryan root race of gods, which I've talked a lot about in prior videos. But she also says in her book that the Holy Grail, or the Grail Quest, is a legend linked to nature rituals and a fertility cult. She says this form of nature worship, through the well-known fertility cult, is a source from which the incidents of the Grail stories were derived. So that's just one of the theories about the Holy Grail, but they all have to do with mysticism and Gnostic Christianity. But in her book, she also writes that the use of tarot to predict the fall and rise of the waters brought fertility to the land, and that the tarot originated in Egypt, pharaohs being seen as god kings and listed in the Nephilim lineages in the Realm of the Ring Lords book by Gardner. She talks about a ceremonial ritual dance of classical Greek youths, male youths, who in common with their Aryan forefathers held a dance that could affect weather and the fruitfulness of the earth. Also in this book, she says that the king's health and vitality in youth was promoted to be closely associated with the fertility of the land. If the king's health was doing poorly or he died, the land would also suffer, which sounds like propaganda to me. So in summary, the main point that I want to make here is that the climate change agenda and these people promoting it are not merely globalists with political or economic agendas. They're bloodline illuminated witches, and their religion involves weather control as part of their practice, ritual, and belief system, as well as control of the population. And now they're attempting it on a worldwide scale because they can with the technology that we now have, and it's just what they do. Thanks for listening.